Hi everyone. A good evening to one and all. Um, very happy to see the faces and the participants who have qualified to the next phase. I'm Balakrishnan. I'm leading the IDS for. We have had a exciting last couple of days, starting from the March 4th of March when we launched the IDS, and till now. Good evening, Rohit. Good to hear from you. We've also gone through all your applications. Extremely happy to see the kind of good evening, Ved. The kind of response that we have got is completely taken us aback, and we are very excited to host you and take you through this journey. So we'll just wait for about a minute or two, and in the meantime, and I would like to hear from some of you of the responses who have you have given the response. What how have your experience been so far? Along those lines, we would like to have some interaction. So anyone, if you want to just raise your hands and share some of your thoughts, it will be good. Good evening, Ronak. Good evening, Jitendra. Great to know hear from you all. We're just waiting for some more people to join, and then we'll be starting the session. So, okay, can I have in the chat box which is the most what theme have you all taken? What problem statement have you all taken which you found challenging? Any problem statement that you found challenging out of the four or five that we have shared, and which you found where there is a lot of work to be done. All right. Wastewater treatment. Yeah, it's yeah. So I think we have got Priyankar as well.
Yes, Priyankar is by the name of 98797589823. You can just make him the co-host.
Priyanka, you can just rename yourself. That
Perfect.
circular economy is actually quite challenging. But it is very essential for humankind to mankind to sort of sustain. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. But it is, yes, very challenging. The biggest challenge that I have felt. How many of you we had shared a short video of the conversation between Bill Gates and Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. How many of you saw that interview? Can I have a raise of hands? Well, I saw the interview. Yeah, Arti. Nice. So great, Sakshi, Vishwa, Kartikeya. What do you think was the he said two things. One is to set up a fund. He has set up the government of India has set up a fund for this entire climate action. But the two most, and he said the most important thing was the change that is needed at the individual level. How at a personal level every person can bring about a change is what is more essential. So that is a thought that I would want to leave everyone with, that how can we influence the action and the day-to-day action of the normal citizen or a person in this universe is very critical for preserving the earth. There's no point with some of us taking the initiative and trying to bring out schemes and methods and programs to alleviate this. It's a individual action that needs to be done from every home. So on that note, first and again, I would like to welcome everyone for this exciting workshop that we have. for building the next the prototype, which is the next phase of the IDS 4 contest that we have set in. We will be having a session by Priyanka. We have shared the profile of Priyanka is. He is actually representing the design village based out of Noida, which is actually doing path-breaking work in various in the field of innovation. It is something, it is one institution that you will see in the next couple of years, holding a lot of significance because of the work that they're doing. They're doing a lot of path-breaking work, and they're trying to create this ecosystem of innovation, which is necessary for sustaining. So he will be taking the session on, how to build a prototype. So I would request every one of you to please post your queries. It will be an interactive session, so we will have queries coming in. So please post your queries. We also have Tanmay, who is actually he is a domain expert in this particular sector. He is now one important aspect is also he's also a UA, an alumni of YI UA. He has set up a UA chapter in one of the colleges in Pune. So thank you, Tanmay and Priyanka, for accepting to do this. And I leave the floor open to now Tanmay and Priyanka to take over. So, Tanmay, please go ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you, Shrivats, and glad to be here. Very, very long old member of UA, but it's feels good to be back and amongst all of these amazing youth. Probably I was at your place like 5 years, 6 years back. And I think the biggest exciting part today is that you have come up with some ideas which are really prevalent or really important in today's time around climate, sustainability, circular economy. And now the real question comes is that, let's put wheels to the ground and let's try implementing stuff. And that's when the prototyping thing comes on. So I think we have a very interesting person to talk this about, and we'll quickly give you a framework or a structure, and then after that, we'd love to hear from you, get your questions, and get more deeper into your project perspectives. So let me quickly introduce Priyankar to you. Priyankar holds a master's degree in transportation design from the Institute of European Design, Torino. He has a background in designing various products, including cars, buses, tractors, electric two-wheelers. You should check out his LinkedIn. He has contributed to Hyundai's Guide project, which was showcased globally, and is passionate about smart and urban mobility solutions. So a lot of interesting things in his profile. And Priyankar, if you could come up and let's hear from Priyankar now. I think Priyankar is not able to present his screen. If you can make him a co-host and give him presentation access.
Tushar, can you do that?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Priyankar. Are you able to present?
Yeah.
I'll just spotlight you for everyone. Cool. I believe everyone can see Priyankar now.
So right now it's being disabled, like I can't share my screen. So yeah, now I can, yes.
Great.
So is the screen visible now?
Yes, Priyankar. And
Yes,
everybody
Priyanka, please go
can
ahead.
gives up a thumbs up.
Yeah. All right, so my name is Priyankar, and I would like to give a brief presentation on prototyping. I would like to keep the presentation a bit short because Tanmay and me would really like to have more time for the Q&A round so that we can give individual feedbacks if that is possible, because I think that is the most important thing which is needed for this thing for designing. So I would like to start my presentation with these two aspects of design, which are called visualization and representation. So these are the two aspects which are needed in every design process, and they are correlated to each other. One is an intangible asset and one is an tangible asset. So what is visualization? Visualization is basically to see with the mind's eye. It's your viewpoint, or it's, let's say, it's a lens from which you see the world. You see maybe the products, maybe the problems which are there, which are out there, and how you see them, how you observe them, and how you gather information to work further on it. And the second aspect which is related to this is representation, which is the expression of ideas. By expression of ideas, I would say how you laid out or how you put out your ideas through different mediums. It can be sketching, or prototyping is one of the major aspect of it, which lets you to represent it. So as I was talking about the intangible and the tangibility of these aspects, so the visualization is basically the intangible aspect, which consists of things like observing and studying and also researching about the things which you are looking into, which you are observing into. And the tangible aspect, which is the representation, is basically the ideation and the exploration of the design you are creating while observing those things out there. So these go both hand in hand. They are both interconnected, and they always work in a circular motion, because once you observe things, you study on them, then you start ideating. But during the ideation stage, during the prototyping stage also, you create things, you create prototypes, you test them with the live audience or the people you are doing it for, and you take feedback. And through that feedback, you again observe and study, and then again you ideate. So this is a very circular motion which goes on and on until you find that correct fit, which is really needed for your design. So these are some of the examples of how you observe things. It is basically consists of the CMF, which is the color, material, and finish. This is more about product design, but also in service design, you can look into different aspects of it. For example, if you look into sustainability, you look towards the things which are surrounding the sustainability, and it has to be very human centric, which you see. So in this, I would say it's more about the material and finish, the details, the color, and how the form follows function, which is really important as a designer to learn, because we tend to create a lot of forms, but we always forgot what is the function behind those forms. So even if you see this trimmer, the very minimalistic and round form which is on the top of it is also serving as a blade. And because it's very round, minimalistic, very smooth, it helps you with a very efficient and smooth functioning of trimming your beard. So these are some of the examples how you observe things around you. This is sort of an abstractometer. So this
Priyanka,
person,
sorry to cut you. One
yeah,
quick thing. Could you please click on hide? So there's a bar which is coming in.
okay, yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
thank you. So this is an abstractometer which works personally for me, and I would say it works really well in this design world. So this defines how you represent your ideas. So it doesn't have to be too abstract out there, and it doesn't have to be too realistic. It has to be just right, just on point, to make the customer or the people understand what you are designing for, and what kind of impact you are trying to bring in their life through the design you're proposing. Also, before ideating and exploring towards your design, you have to really define what, like who the design is for. Is it for the self, the creator, or the designer who is designing it, or it is for others, other creatives, other makers, buyers, clients, customers, and etc. So this definition will clear some of the thoughts, will also navigate your design towards a better fitment towards the area you're designing for. These are few examples. This is Dieter Rams. He was one of the famous product designers, and these are some examples of how they used to, let's say, make low fidelity prototypes during that time. So these are very rough sketches, ideating, exploring the forms and the function which follows the forms. So
Priyanka, so everybody might not know what low fidelity is. So could you maybe just take a
Yeah,
moment and
I
explain
would
low
just
fidelity?
go ahead with that. Like, I'll just explain very briefly all those things. So this is the first part. Like this, I would say this is the major part which we follow as a designer to ideate things and ideate through, let's say, scribbles or sketching. This is a more advanced form of sketching which happens in these days. So you can see the difference, how it has evolved throughout the years. Although he was one of the famous product designers, but still, because of the materials, because of the functions of the things which were available, the quality of, uh, let's say, sketching or ideating your things have evolved a lot. So from that, I would like to put focus on what is prototyping. So prototyping is a very important step as a designer to refine, validate, and also take important feedback for your ideas. So prototyping has different stages. The first stage is called the low fidelity prototype, and then comes the high fidelity, and also there is a thing called rapid prototyping. So these are different approaches through which you can actually see the scope or the limitation of your design, and maybe you can take very valuable insights or feedbacks on your design. So low fidelity prototypes involves very rough sketching or rough structures or the design of your ideas. So it can be either sketches, wireframes, or if you have anything tangible, it can be made through waste also, maybe from used cardboard, plastics, thermocols, things like that. So it is a very quick and cost-effective way to actually explore and ideate your design and take initial feedback on it. So you can make very rough and small prototypes, very different kind of prototypes. If it's an app or a website, or let's say if it's a service, you can create those wireframes or the storyboards, very rough storyboards, to show it to the clients or to the let's say people it's made for, and take very initial feedback on it, so that you can ideate more and maybe do that observe and study well apart again, and then ideate again. So low fidelity prototypes lacks on details and functionality because they are very rough and very initial stages of prototyping. So it's just about putting out your ideas physically or through designing things. These are some examples of low fidelity prototypes. So the one on your left is somehow like a tangible product, which is like a mouse or something. So you can make very rough sketches and try to make small prototypes and very rough prototypes to check the forms and the features or the design of your ideas. And on the right, you have low fidelity prototypes for, let's say, apps or websites through wireframes, and you can make these mock-ups to just check how it looks on your screen. And this brings us to the next stage of prototyping, which is high fidelity prototype. High fidelity prototypes are mostly very detailed and functional prototypes, which actually resembles your final product. So once you are set with the design or your idea during the low fidelity stage of prototyping, and once you make like maybe 100 iterations of it, and the final one, you take it towards the high fidelity prototyping, and you actually make something which actually resembles your design in a real world scenario. And you try to test it with the potential customers or the clients, or you use it, or you yourself test it and take initial feedbacks on it, and try to finish it and take it towards the manufacturing stage of it. And the third stage of it, which can come under low fidelity, can also come under high fidelity, or it can be, let's say, a middle stage in between, which is called the rapid prototyping. It is a very time efficient approach, because if you have something very tangible, you can use like computer digital softwares and just quickly 3D print those things and just check the feasibility and the efficiency of those things which you are designing. So these are basically the aspects of prototyping which I have covered and I think are really important as a designer to understand. So this is the basic presentation I had for this. So I would like to end this presentation on this. If you would like to have some further details or information about this, I would be really happy to help with it.
Great. So I think before we move on to the Q&A, just
Yep.
had three quick points. So since most of us are building solutions around the climate and sustainability theme, uh, around prototyping, not much changes, but however, there are three quick things that we should keep in mind or we should think about. One is that, this is an evolving space. So our idea impact range is quite high. Our scale is immensely high. So, but what we should always keep a tab on, even at the prototyping stage, is that who will buy our solutions, who will be the customer of the solutions, and how much will they pay for something like what we are trying to build. So, for instance, if you are Tesla in the early days, the probably the average person is not going to buy your vehicle. You are trying to build a supercar, sports car kind of a vehicle. And your audience is somebody who probably already has one vehicle and is looking for a second vehicle just for their daily commute or just for a local conveyance sort of a mode. So, to test that if you need a car which can actually match the aspiration of this kind of a user while exciting them of the future this technology holds. So, what would your ideal solution be? So, what they did was very exciting that they picked up the chassis of the Lotus, one of the vehicle of Lotus, which was Lotus Elise model, and then they built their electric vehicle solutions on it. So, that was sort of their prototyping stage in which they tested out their product and even took it to market, sold a couple of vehicles, generated some revenue rather than setting up the entire supply chains for building a vehicle. So that was one of these smart ways in which one company did. Second thing is around prototyping is your target should be is how quickly you can fail. And by fail, I mean how quickly you can keep failing until you succeed. So, and failure can be, we cannot build this technology, we cannot get enough users to adopt, and users have adopted, but they're not using it. So there can be multiple level of failures for you. But the biggest question with prototype is how quickly you can go through these phases and find that one feature or one product which the user will adopt and which will scale immensely. And third thing is very tricky. It differs from situations to situations, is the money part of it. So I would say don't burn a lot of money for your prototype. For instance, find some existing tool which could solve what your solution did. So like Tesla, they didn't invested into building the entire supply chain for chassis. They used something which was already there in the market and just refurbished it with their own solution, which proved their proof of concept. So, or for, let's say, for instance, Zomato, when it started, Dipinder Goyal put it out as like a one page within Bain Consulting. And when that page got immense hit, so that was like a user insight for him that, this could eventually scale up into a very big sort of an enterprise or sort of the Zomato that we see right now. So maybe it's not a good idea to just jump on an application or jump on building a very elaborate technical solution. Look for solutions which are already out there on which you could build your solution on, get some user insights, and see if this is actually something which the users want. As you know, this very popular accelerator in US, Y Combinator, has this one very simple line: build something which the users want. So through your prototype, your basic goal should be that let's fail immensely, iteratively, so that we finally build something which the users want. So with this, let's open the floor to Q&A. I see some operational Q&As already into the chat, which I'll leave the YI team to manage them. YI team, do you want to take those operational questions right now? So is there anybody from the YI team? Perfect. So I think while they sort that out, let's move on to some questions that you might have on this presentation. And while you are thinking of some of the questions, I thought I'll have a few questions for Priyankar. Priyankar, you talked about low fidelity, high fidelity prototypes. Could you maybe tell us that, students today, what tools they can use? Maybe it's just a sketchbook that they could use. What are the tools today which can make low fidelity, high fidelity prototyping really easy or quick for students today?
So for low fidelity, I would say maybe pen, paper, pencil, those works. Also, if you have some sort of highlighters or sketch pens of different colors to highlight the most important aspect of it and then the least important aspects, like if you can value those things on the prototype, you can start with just the sheets and pen paper and then maybe move towards materials like I would say sunboard or MDF or cardboard. You can find cardboard anywhere in the packaging also. I'm sure everybody buys a lot of things online and I'm sure everybody has a lot of waste packaging in their house. The bags you get for the shopping, you can also cut them out, just turn them around and use them as a tangible thing for your prototyping. I think for low fidelity, that much works. For high fidelity, I would say rather uh, look for materials which sort of maybe let's say replicate the actual material which you are searching for, or if you're making an application or a website, the wireframes or the structure through let's say Illustrator, Figma, or softwares like that would work. and some sort of testing through your mobile phones, like putting those screens on your phone, checking how it works, how the most important things are viewed. So I think those things work really well.
Great.
Yeah.
So I believe we have one question, which is from Abhijit. He's asking, while prototyping, how do we prove the supposed functionality? I mean, reliably, reproductively. If you want more clarity on it, I think we can even unmute Abhijit.
Yeah. Is this thing on the chat box?
Yeah, this is on the chat box.
Okay.
So his question is, while prototyping, how do we prove the supposed functionality? I mean, reliably, reproductively.
So I would say that prototyping holds that position of proving your ideas, but before proving it, I would say how also you were saying, also what Tanmay was saying, that you have to make those maybe low fidelity prototypes and maybe fail on those aspects before you reach at some point where you think it's going towards the right direction. So first, you have to try to make those low fidelity prototypes, test them, test it with other people, test it on the surroundings, test it through the considerable people, through the people who are more important towards your ideas, and just show them how it works, how it is, how what are you thinking about it, and take feedback on it, so that you can iterate more and maybe work on it more, and once you're ready with the you have designed, through that feedback and all the information and research, you can actually prove what you have designed through the feedback.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll quickly add one thing to it is that with prototypes, the whole idea is that your user can experience your product. So let's say, for example, if you're building a car, you cannot give users two wheel and say, this is my prototype.
Yeah.
But your car could be a well-built vehicle. It may not have a stereo system, an AC, or some other electronic gadgets, which are good to have. But your prototype will have some features which you want the user to experience, which are like must have, which are like the painkiller for the user. So
Yes.
think on those perspectives and build those. So prototype is basically that one single function or a set of basic functions that you definitely want to build, that you want your user to experience. Perfect. Then Shreya asks, as my team is working on a software project, so would it be okay if we work on the UI only and present it, or do we need a fully functional model? So I think I can add on this that this is the do phase, and in which you have to showcase that your idea could actually work. Uh, why I'll send this note to Y team as well, and they can elaborate more on it. So I think, but even with UI, you could maybe use a Figma UI in which you could show how the application would look like, or use some no-code tools like Notion, Airtable for databases, and you could pretty much build a good, well-functioning prototype within a few days or lesser.
Yeah. I would like to add to this, because sometimes people think that while making a UI, you are limited to designing that thing, and because you don't know how to code or don't know the IT part of it. But these are some of the limitations which we also follow during prototyping. So that's why you use tools, what Tanmay was suggesting, like Notion and Figma, to represent your ideas. And maybe if you try to, I don't know if it's a competition, if you win it, if you pitch it to the investors and they're interested in it through the visual representation of your ideas, maybe you can ask them that, I have to hire a IT person to code it, to make it actually run on it. So that's how it works.
Exactly. Got it. So next is Sanskriti. Can we make a prototype for this, which is already in use or in market, and then improve it using our own model or software? It can be their basic idea, and then we can build something over that which is more useful and reliable for the user. So let's take this, and then we'll come to the people who have raised their hands who want to speak.
Okay. So, would you like to go on this, or should I?
You go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, if you want to take something from the market, I would like to take this example. Like we have like more than 1,000 trimmers out there, or maybe I would say we have uh, more than 1,000, let's say, brush, vacuum cleaners, things, the common things which we use daily. But uh, the design or the aesthetics, if you like to change it, the form of it, but if with that form you try to add some function to it, some additional function which make the existing thing more efficient or more friendly towards the customer or the audience which you are designing for. I think it works if you take something which is already existing and try to make it further. But again, if you try to make or design something new, that works as a designer, also as an innovator, or as a person who wants to bring impact through their design. And let's say there is a perfect quotation for this, that you can't redesign a pencil. So that's how these things work. So yes.
Great. So from the people who had raised their hands, just a second. So let's start with Aarti. Aarti, if the team can unmute Aarti and she can speak. Aarti Kabra.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is, sir, that as we all know that the product and the technology somewhere or the other exists, whatever we are thinking to create. Okay, so how should we create the USP out of it? Like, should it be more inclined towards application based, or should it be more inclined towards technological based, which can give us the edge? Not only here in this competition, but also while we are executing our own startup or business in the long run.
Okay. So
Maybe I'll just give a Srivatsi, I'll just give a sort of response, and then you can take over from there. So yeah, is it fine, Priyanka?
yeah, sure.
What is important is, to be frank, what solution that you give, be it an application and be it anything for that matter, is actually fine. It's not necessary that it has to be a manufacturing equipment, or it has to be even for services. Ultimately, if it can aid in giving a solution to a problem, I think that will be good. So I'll just, I was just telling from the overall expectation of what we are, looking at, from this contest. Yeah, Priyanka, over to you. I thought I'll just come in here.
So yeah, I think I'm on the same lines. Like taking out this example, like there are for every product or every service, there are more than 100 companies which already exist. So to get your USP out of it, you can bring something new through technology based, or through your product based, or through your form based. Like things can be visually appealing also, things can be visually very different, which can attract the customers or the people you're designing for, or they can be technology which can actually enhance the experience which they're already getting from an existing product or a service. And there are always like, keep in mind that there are always loopholes between the designs or the services or the products which are there. So you have to search for those loopholes very thoroughly and through great research, and try to create your own USP. But nobody's saying it has to be out of the box, or you have to think like go mad about it.
Maybe your solution will be just giving maybe some information, just collation of information that can be relied upon. Even that itself may be a huge game changer. Up until now, if there is no information of what is the component of maybe I say a toxic gas that comes out of various places, that getting out that information in a simple way, maybe through an app or maybe through a product, that itself may be a huge game changer. It's ultimately up to you to prove to us through your idea and vision how that will work and be effective. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So let's take Malathi next. M. Malathi.
Okay.
Team can unmute. Are you here, M. Malathi? I think let's move to Sumit.
Hello, sir.
Great.
Hi, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sir. So, I'm Sumit. I'm from Rishihur University, and I'm doing interior architecture semester 6. Okay. So, my question is कि जैसे हम लोग materials और building materials के बारे में भी पढ़ते हैं. So, one of my project is like idea, like to make a tile or a panel from waste material, which uh, which gives us insulation and soundproofing. So the main thing is कि वो अगर मुझे प्रोटोटाइप बनाना है, which is not a big thing, लेकिन उसके बाद टेस्टिंग और उसका वो जो नंबरिंग होता है ना, टेस्टिंग, और वो कितना अकूस्टिक्स प्रूफिंग कर रहा है या इंसुलेशन कर रहा है, वो सारी चीज़ें क्या मुझे प्रोटोटाइपिंग में दिखानी पड़ेंगी? तो क्वेश्चन है कि मतलब मेरे पास कुछ सॉफ्टवेयर्स भी ऐसे हैं जो नंबरिंग के बेसिस पे वो प्रूफ कर सकता है ना, एक तरह का प्रोटोटाइप वो भी एक सॉफ्टवेयर दे सकता है, बट द थिंग इज कि वो एक फिजिकल प्रोटोटाइप और जो हमारे पास होगा उसका टेस्टिंग, उसका प्रोटोटाइपिंग कर सकते हैं, या वो सॉफ्टवेयर बेसिस पे?
नहीं, तो अगर आपको इसका प्रोटोटाइप बनाना है, आई वुड सजेस्ट दैट आइदर मेक लाइक take the materials which you have researched, through which you are going to create the bricks or the tiles, whatever you are creating for your building, और उसको आप या तो एक छोटे स्केल में, मतलब so the proportion it works like if your building is 1 1:1, you can create something which is 1:16 ratio, 1:10 ratio, something like that. मतलब scale down करो उसको, but उसको जो material है उसमें बना and then test it, or try to make just one single tile or one single brick and try to test it. For example, we have students here who are currently testing vermiculite, which is some sort of a soil which also is a waste from batteries. वो battery पे एक layer होता है to cool them down, to cool the batteries down. There is a layer of vermiculite which is some sort of a soil or sand, I would say. तो उससे वो लोग भी आर्किटेक्चरल फर्म्स के लिए ब्रिक्स बनाने की ट्राई कर रहे हैं. तो वो लोग भी अभी एक सिंगल ब्रिक बना के उस मटेरियल से फिर उसको टेस्ट कर रहे हैं थ्रू वेदर कंडीशंस, क्योंकि वो ठंडा भी रखता है, वो मॉइस्चर कंट्रोल भी करता है, वो थोड़ा सा soundproofing भी करता है. So they are testing all the aspects at different levels of the prototyping. मतलब 1 महीना पूरा उन्होंने उसको टेस्ट किया, पानी डाला, छोड़ा, बहुत देर तक छोड़ा, टेम्परेचर पे गर्म करके देखा, उस पे आग जला के देखी, मशीन से देखा, उस पे उसको गैस पे रख के देखा कि कितने टेम्परेचर पे राइज हो रहा है, कितने पे वो टेस्ट हो रहा है. तो if you want to make something which is very physical, which is going to work in real world scenarios, it is better to test it physically. Software gives that information, but testing it physically makes it more valuable.
And the one thing is very normal. Question is कि first prototype ये बनेगा. Already मैंने एक बना रखा है, but वो aesthetically उतना good अच्छा नहीं होगा जितने market में products हैं. And the thing is कि वो थोड़ा सा raw होगा, but that is acceptable, or should I make aesthetically good or a proper prototype maybe?
No, so this will fall under the low fidelity prototype which we were talking about. It can be very rough, but try to test it. रफ बनाओ, कैसे भी बनाओ, वो एक टुकड़ा बनाओ, उसको क्रश करके फॉर्म में ले आओ, बट उसको टेस्ट करो. Once the testing is done, then you can go towards the compression of it. मतलब आपको कितनी पतली टाइल बनानी है, कितना मोटा बनाना है, थिकनेस क्या होगी उसकी, वो चेक करो आप. Once that is done, then you can make the final product which is aesthetically pleasing, which is really good, which can be presentable in the market. But right now, I would say test it through low fidelity prototype, like the physical testing, do it with a rough prototype only.
Okay, so is it required to give you numbering, like pricing or the other thing, marketing, or just give you a prototype?
I would say that is a plus point if you give the numbering also, because you know it will go out in bulk, and it will be not used in one single piece. It will be multiple pieces of the same thing which will be used to make a structure. So some sort of approximate numbering, मतलब कितने का पड़ सकता है with all the materials you are using. You also have to search for the resources from where you're going to get those materials, and फिर वहां से एक approximate number दे सकते हो.
Okay, so जब मैंने research करी थी, so I've been go through the lots of research paper reports, and there is couple of reports which is like जिसमें थोड़ा सा testing हुआ है और उन्होंने अच्छा खासा solution निकाला है, but that's a percentage of my product, like 10% उन्होंने उस चीज का यूज किया है. So क्या मैं उस प्रोसीजर को फॉलो कर सकता हूँ और मुझे इसके अंदर वो रेफरेंस के तौर पे दिखाना पड़ेगा एज एन प्रोटोटाइप जब बन जाएगा, because it should be a proper original thing, no?
Yeah, for reference you can say that this was tested previously also, but अगर तुम बोल रहे हो कि 10% ही है, then you have to show your 80% or 100% of the product with the same testing, कि वो इस testing पे कैसे काम कर रहा है.
Okay sir, thank you so much.
Welcome.
So let's see who's next. Pritesh Carvalho.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I'm Pritesh Carvalho from Mangalore. My question is, if we make a prototype, is there a venue that we should bring a prototype to this spot and present it, or it's just an online video presentation of that?
That complete completely depends upon your idea, like what kind of thing you are creating. Is it something digital or is it something physical?
It's physical, sir, physical.
So physical, I would say you should first create the low fidelity prototypes, then maybe like if it's like take feedback on the design and the overall approach of it, and then try to make further prototypes and then test it if there is a testing needed for that. So for that particular testing, you have to take it into the live environment for which it is created for. And once that is done, you can maybe make a final product or a thing which can go into manufacturing.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Priyanka, if I can pick the next one.
Yeah, sure.
So S Madhu, if you can unmute. We might have time for two more questions. So maybe what we can do is the Y team can then collate these questions and send to us. So Madhu, if you are here, you can speak your questions.
सर प्रेजेंटेशन प्रोटोटाइप ऑनलाइन होने वाला है या ऑफलाइन होगा?
So is Srivat's here? I think he'll be the right person to say this. Or anybody from the Y team? Madhu, I think we'll get back to you on this. Saurabh?
Yes. So my question is mainly as I am building a web application on my project. So my vision is like not using any hardware and only using software and build my prototype on the web application only. So what should be the showcasing prototype I have to show in this learning phase right now?
So can you just repeat what your idea is, like briefly?
So actually, I am building a web application on smart waste management.
Okay.
So it is mainly on the software phase, and you don't need to use any hardware. So right now, my question is, as I am showcasing my software, means web app on this platform means competition. So what should be the my first prototype should be?
So I would say for you, the first prototype could be the process, how this thing is working, because just making the app is not a very convincing idea. Like if I just give you an app and I would say this is the app, you will not understand. But if you create that narrative, how that process is working or how that app is working, like sort of making storyboards. Have you seen how comics are made? Maybe you can make those storyboards through the major frames, keeping the major frames, how that app is going to work. So showing the process, how that waste management is happening through that app. So keeping that app as a hero in that storyboard, you can create that process as a low fidelity prototype, and maybe for your high fidelity prototype, you can create the actual application through the softwares which we were talking about earlier and just present it to your jury panel. So for the starting, I would say it will be the mapping of the process or the storyboarding, the narrative of the process, how that waste management is going to happen through your app.
So I should only do a orientation of my web application, or should I go live and doing some processes or making a video like a real type short video on how my app will work?
Yeah, you can also do that. You can make videos as well. That also works. You
So
can
how
make
it will be the process of submitting our this learning phase mainly? Like we have to submit the videos or a presentation or a report.
Okay, so I think this the management would be the perfect person to give you information about. We'll get back to you for with the same information later, maybe.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you can just write these questions and just send it to us. Maybe we and the management will try to figure it out and send the perfect feedback which you need for that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
So I think there's a common theme around one point that some people want to make some hardware related prototypes, and they're asking on the cost. So I think, as I mentioned on the third point, it shouldn't be very costly. And but if it's very, very essential to your product, maybe see if you can get some samples from some company, but really depends upon what kind of hardware is it. Uh, Priyankar has more experience in how this could be simulated, so maybe Priyankar, if you can add a few points.
For the costing, you're saying?
So, for the people asking if the hardware solution, if they have a hardware solution, they can build it, so it will be costly and time consuming. So, how they
Yeah.
can probably go about doing that?
Okay, so I would say that you can. I mentioned earlier also maybe replicate your ideas with cheaper materials, which somehow give the essence of the actual material you're using, or try to bring that essence of the actual materials. If it's a bit expensive to buy for now, try to bring that maybe the texture or the materialistic thing of that particular thing, the finish of it, on some cheaper material as well. Like if there's something very rough or something, you can use maybe paper mache or something, mix it with glue and water, put it on a piece of cardboard or MDF board or sun board, and try to replicate and make it look like the actual material which you would like to use. But in your presentation, maybe you can just quote that this is a replica for this particular material, and this particular material will cost somewhere around X amount of thing, and maybe you can justify your ideas through those prototypes.
Great. So we are almost on time, and so what we'll do is request the YI team if they can collate the questions which were not answered
Yeah,
and just send it to us, and then we'll be able to take them asynchronously.
yeah.
And for the, I believe we have taken mostly everyone who had their hands up. Uh, I think, yeah. So even Sakshi, Tejpal, if you had any questions, please just write to the YI team. And operationally also, I believe they would be sending you some more content onto how the program will progress. But in summary, today it was about how you can think about building a prototype. And just to summarize that, it's something that you build which has one single functionality, which would prove that your product or your idea actually works and is something that your users will buy. So think from that perspective. It doesn't have to be all bells and whistles. It has to be something very, very basic, very frugal, very scrappy version of what you think, and maybe even put your concept down onto a whiteboard and just keep removing different things until you find one single thing that you see is the core aspect of your product. Priyankar, any last summarizing points from you?
Also, just one last thing to add to the previous thing we were talking about the costing and how the materials can be sourced. Even if you are replicating your materials with some other things, with some other material, try to give reference of the materials from where they can be sourced so that it doesn't show that you are speculating some other things, like to try to give those resources or the reference points of those materials from where that person can resource those, collate those, and then make that design or make that idea. So yeah, I think that's it.
Great. YIT, many points from you.
Sorry.
I was just checking with if the YI team has any points. Shrivats is here.
All right.
No, nothing, Tanmay, nothing to add from our side, from the wire team as of now. I think about the time. So let's
Perfect.
start the session. And definitely we will take up all the questions and share with the concern, team and with you guys also.
Perfect. Awesome. Sounds good. So, but thank you everyone for joining. We hope it was in beneficial for you, and we could connect with both me and Priyanka on LinkedIn. And happy to be in touch. And all the best for your next rounds. See you.
Hello, and sir. Wish all the best.
Thank you, Tanmay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, sir. Hello. Sir, excuse me. Hello. Hello.